I'm Erik the Travel Guy. We've ventured across the pond and just a little north to present a true Scandinavian treat. Stockholm, Sweden is next on Beyond Your Backyard.
Beyond Your Backyard is being brought to you in part by the following. With Bill, there's only one.
My name is Erik Hastings. Yeah, that's me. And for as long as I can remember, I've always loved to travel, and I still do today. But you know what I've learned? There's so much more that brings us together than divides us. Which is why I've made it my mission to do the very same things you can do, but to take you beyond the experiences, to uncover the soul of every place we visit. Let me introduce you to the people, the places, and the secrets that remind us how exciting it is to share with one another, to understand one another, and to realize just how connected we really are. I am Erik the Travel Guy, and this is Beyond Your Backyard. Thank you for watching. Welcome back, and I'm so happy you're joining us because the crew and I packed up the gear, grabbed our passports, and landed here in Stockholm, which, as you know, is the capital of Sweden. It's September now, which means the air is crisp, the sun is bright, and we are poised to explore as much of this city as we can in our short time together. You know, they say that the residents of Stockholm are welcoming to all, which is why we're going to learn more about this centuries-old history through its museums, people, and geography. We'll also sample unbelievably delicious and authentic Nordic and Scandinavian cuisine. And yes, we'll go behind the music and learn about the rise and endurance of Swedish musical sensation ABBA. Oh, and by the way, we're also going to take you on the flight deck of a modern engineering marvel, the Boeing Dreamliner. It's going to be a good one. Let's get started. Because we're exploring a region of the world less familiar to most of us, let's take a closer look at our helpful, friendly map, shall we? Here we have Scandinavia. In the west, this is Norway. And in the east, we find Finland. Just south lies Denmark. And right here in the middle is Sweden. Stockholm, the capital, is located right here, on the edge of a 30,000 island archipelago. It lies along the Baltic Sea, and it's comprised of 14 islands and more than 50 bridges, which connect the Old World authenticity with New World charm. This was my first ever visit, and I must say, Stockholm is truly a city that begs to be explored on foot, which is exactly what I set out to do. But for the crew and I, our Stockholm journey began back in New York with Norwegian Airlines, on board a state-of-the-art Boeing Dreamliner. There's something marvelous about how we liberated ourselves from the surface of the planet. How fast are we going to go at takeoff?
About 160 knots.
My God.
So that's quite a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And we're taking off out of JFK. We're going to Stockholm, right? If I have it right?
Yeah.
And how fast are we going to travel tonight?
We're going to fly approximately 84% of the speed of sound.
Oh, my God.
Which is Mach 0.84.
When you start planning a flight and you know you're going to do a flight, when do you start thinking about that flight?
I think about it when I wake up at the crew hotel. We download the flight plan to our iPad. That's that time I start looking at the fuel figures, look at the weather, the routing, the aircraft, and so on.
Some would say at the pinnacle of modern day airplane design, right? The Dreamliner is at the top of the list.
It is. The entire aircraft is computerized. It's just computer throughout the aircraft. The fuselage is built out of carbon fiber.
Yep.
And there's composite wings, and the wings are very flexible. It is a state-of-the-art aircraft, really.
Extremely fuel efficient, I understand.
Yeah.
Also quiet.
It's very quiet, and also you feel the humidity in the air is much more humid than it used to be in the old aircraft. that makes you also feel better when you land.
How many people on board tonight? How many passengers?
300.
And then how many crew will be on board?
8 crew.
This is considered long haul, right?
It is, absolutely, yeah.
JFK to Stockholm tonight, what's the flight time?
6 hours and 29 minutes.
I can't wait. It's going to be an awesome flight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
Enjoy it.
Can I get to go up there?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, my God. This is epic.
It's almost impossible for me to explain what a privilege it was to get the chance to talk with the captain and the rest of his crew. To have access to the flight deck of an international flight was a real treat. What a way to start off an amazing first trip to Scandinavia. But for humankind, traveling by airplane is a relatively new invention, which is why my journey in Stockholm began with another mode of transportation. Check this out. You know, this ship took more than 2 years to assemble and build, and on August 10th, 1628, she set sail on her maiden voyage and promptly sank just about 30 minutes thereafter. Whoops. But you know, it wouldn't be until 1961 that she would reemerge here. And what you see is 98% original. You know, I often say there's no substitution for going places, and when you do, chances are you'll marvel at one-of-a-kind pieces of history. And the Vasa is no exception. My gosh, Stockholm is a city that begs to be explored on foot. Of course, there's plenty of options for walking tours. You've got hop-on, hop-off bus tours, private tours. But I'm in the mood for something a little more unique.
You have brought us to one of the coolest places in Stockholm.
It definitely is that.
How did we get here? Where do we start with Stockholm's history?
In the beginning, when Stockholm didn't exist, there was another town which you can visit today called Sigtuna. They were besieged at the end of the 1100s, and then it was decided, well, we need to protect the inlet to Lake Mälaren, so therefore Stockholm became a city. 1252 was the founding of Stockholm. The statue of the man that we met at down on the square, that is the statue of who we consider the founder of the city, Birger Jarl. At that time, you estimate that there was only maybe about 100 or a few hundred people making up the city of Stockholm on one island. As Stockholm grew to be about 1 million people in the inner city today, well, we don't fit on one island. We have 14 islands, exactly. We have the mainland on the north side of the inner city, and now, as of this year, we have 58 bridges. With that, over time, Stockholm's importance grew as this defensive location, but also it was an important trade location.
What were they trading?
You had salt, you had iron, you could have beer, all sorts of fabrics and food perhaps that might not be able to be grown here.
Everybody is integrated and everybody seems to be getting along up here.
Yeah.
Why is that?
In my experience, I find that Swedes, once you get to break the ice, they're some of the nicest people and the best of friends that you'll have. Especially in Stockholm, I think it's quite a very, what we say, lagom, which means not too much, not too little. Size city where, you know, maybe you live in one area of town, but you work in another. So roughly speaking, the way that Stockholm is developed today, it's about 1/3 developed city, 1/3 park, and 1/3 water. And you also see it in the law of Jante, or Jantelagen in Swedish, where you don't want to stand out from the crowd so much. You want to sort of blend in. No one is better than anyone else.
When people come here for the first time and take this tour, what are they most surprised by on the roof?
One of the most common questions we get is, why are all the rooftops black?
Why are
they? Great question.
Thank you very much.
Well, a couple of reasons. One is if we get sunlight in the wintertime, it helps to keep some warmth into the buildings. Primarily, though, it's for aesthetic purposes.
What exactly is on this tour? Explain that to me just a little bit.
It's an hour and 15 minutes in total, of which 40 to 50 minutes, roughly, is given up here on the roof.
Got it.
So we have 3 platforms which we guide on, and the rest we walk between. We start by where Stockholm was founded.
Got it.
With the old town. Then you continue across the rooftop. The highest part of the roof is on the other side. Come down by the green tower that's just under the sun.
Got it.
And the second platform is the flat part of the roof on the other side. That overlooks the lake. Then from there you come across the inside of the roof to the 3rd platform.
Got it.
And then we talk about, well, Stockholm today, but also the island that we're on, the island of nobility.
And we're strapped in on a harness situation, so we're safe. We care about safety. We wear
Exactly.
helmets and various things, right?
Exactly. We're always two guides up here on the roof. So one guide who's the safety guide at the end of the group will connect you in. The guiding guide who's at the front will then disconnect you when you get back to the very end.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
You see, Stockholm is full of unique historical experiences like this. Cultural tradition is something that the people of Stockholm take great pride in. And to experience this, I opted for a meal prepared using centuries-old Nordic techniques. So I decided to pay a visit to Chef Nicholas Eksted's Michelin star restaurant, Eksted. Oh, let's eat. Come on.
Someone watching back in the U.S. might be curious and think, well, gosh, I don't really know what the Swedish population eats. What's nice about this particular city is, of course, it's a cosmopolitan city. We have Indian food, we have Mexican food from all over the world.
Yes.
In general,
In
what do you
general,
eat?
like the meatballs,
Yeah.
potatoes,
Yeah.
really nice fish. One thing that I appreciate to Sweden is like they have different kind of food for different type of the year. Now it's the end of the season, but always you eat crayfish. We are coming to the mushroom season.
Oh.
Everyone,
I'm gonna
almost
cry. I love
everyone
mushrooms.
in the whole country normally go to the forest and try to find some mushrooms.
Really?
Yeah, like everyone, even here in Stockholm, like everyone go to different national parks or small forest to pick like summer chanterelles or black trumpets.
You've selected a perfect spot. It's as if we've got a front row seat to what's about to happen here, right?
Yes, exactly. The idea is like we can be a little bit closer when we cooking the food and we can see the fire in different spots.
The residents really care about what they're putting in their bodies.
Absolutely. I think in general the population, everyone is thinking really much what you are eating. It's really important also here to exercise. It's quite popular now to try to eat much vegetables.
Yeah. Well, what are we going to have today? I'm excited about this.
Yes, we're gonna cook with this technique that is called flambadou. That is a really old technique. We just cook food with birch and a little bit of charcoal,
Okay.
but we don't use electricity to cook food. The idea for Niklas is like we cook like the really long time ago times, and we want to do this so near to the forest and Nordic. The important for us is like we try to cook everything directly before you get the food on fire, so you feel the smell of when you are in the forest. And
Well, this works out because my appetite is on fire. I mean, I haven't eaten in like an hour, so this is going to work out for me. So I
Perfect.
say we get
Yeah.
started.
so the idea is like to make crisp the area on the top with this dry aged beef fat that we have.
That's amazing.
So this beef fat is dry aged for a month. And here we have a smoked apple with some beurre blanc sauce.
Oh my gosh, look at this. How do we eat it?
So the idea is you pick from there and then you go ahead.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my. I'm not sure how to describe that. That was amazing.
You like it, right? It's,
Yeah. Do we have like 17 or 18 more of these to go? I mean, I don't know. I wish, oh my gosh, I wish there was a word in English that would describe the smokiness of that.
yeah,
The
it's
fire.
the fat
Yeah.
give you this balance with the oyster, right?
It absolutely does, but there is, oh my gosh. I might cry. I've never cried over an oyster. Today might be the day. Oh, what is it called? What on the
We
menu?
call the oyster flambadou.
That was lovely. What's next?
So here we have these Swedish chanterelles.
Oh,
we
no.
have these scallops that we ember bake directly on the branches. We have the sauce made out of the shells and the inside of the scallop, and we make it with the juniper butter. with seasoned herb. And then on the bottom, you're going to have this Swedish seaweed that is also from the West Coast. This is called rojina. And also we have these onion flowers on top.
That is so light and perfect. This is incredible. Incredible. And did you say there's no stove back there?
No, we cook there.
That's it?
Yeah.
It's open. It's all open
fire.
flame.
Yeah. So this bowl is around 250 degrees.
Wow.
So here we're gonna make this garnish for the lamb course. So we have this thyme fermented butter, and we're gonna make some Jerusalem artichokes, some salted baked yellow beetroot, and some flame corn. And then here we have this ember baked onions. So we have this brisket that we warm smoke. So the idea is we serve ourselves the garnish.
Got it.
On the sides. On the plate we have this pickled kohlrabi. Underneath we have the ember baked eggplant. We have this brisket that we warm smoke for 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
We have the high flame lamb, and we have these black trumpets. On the vegetables also it's like 3 different techniques, like we fry pan the Jerusalem artichokes.
It's an interesting combination. You think fire, meaning you're going to cook everything quickly. Right? That's the logical, like, oh, of course, you're going to throw it on because we're used to having a grill and we put the thing on and we take it off. But you're talking about hours and hours of reductions and a perfect, I suppose that's why you end up with a Michelin star. You know, like, that's a really, the cooking techniques, you're layering upon layers here.
Yeah, one thing that is important when we are working, need a lot of attention from your skills.
We have not invented words in English to describe how amazing this is. I sound like a broken record. It's ridiculous.
This is ember baked eggplant.
And what is on top? What is?
This is a kohlrabi that we just pickle.
The food here seems to make you, it almost forces you to slow down. But these meals, it seems to me, require you to, like you said, we have to be present to cook it. You have to be, you almost have to be present to eat it.
I can't do this alone. The whole team make every guest happy, I hope. So here we go. So we're gonna have some dessert now. On the bottom we have this roasted oat flour. Okay, we marinate these raspberries in the elderflower juice. And on top we have this cream that is infused of herb. And on top we have this sorbet that make out of wood sorrel.
Bon appetit. This is like a Christmas present. Oh. Raspberries are my favorite. I found my childhood at the bottom of this bowl. It's amazing. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well.
Well, you can't come to Stockholm and not come here. It's the only museum of its kind in the entire world. This is ABBA, the museum, and Pop House Hotel. Take a chance on me. Come on in. This interactive museum highlights one of Sweden's national treasures, ABBA. Visitors can spend hours exploring stage props, platinum and gold records, costumes, and amazing footage of live and studio performances, and so much more. Why is it that this music is so incredibly important to so many people for so long?
Yeah. Benny said once, trying to explain this, he said that in Sweden at that time in the 60s, 50s and 60s, you had one TV channel.
Right.
One radio channel. So you heard music from the whole world. You heard jazz, soul, funk, pop, whatever, not folk music. And that is a mesh in his head when he's doing music. So actually, when you listen to his music, you can hear traces of everything in it.
Because it had to do with the availability and your ability to hear other sounds from all over the world.
And if you're a good composer, you take a little bit of everything and you make something good.
And you make something good. What years are we working with when they really stepped onto the world stage?
72.
72. Mm-hmm. And so they show up with Waterloo was the first one? Did I get it right? I'm interested in what makes up that sound that's incredibly unique and very hard to replicate.
It is hard to replicate, but I think it was the fact that their sound engineer, Michael B. Tretov, that he was listening a lot to Phil Spector and the Wall of Sound they have in all the songs. That is a big part of this.
You mentioned the timing there, because if you think about it, someone who was 16 in 1980, as they age and new music and more music comes out and they have access to more music and a lot of it, they go, wait a minute, there's something about my childhood, there's something about this music that really is important that they brought with them. So it makes sense they would go, where's the celebration of that? You know, this beloved group, these four people, does it have something to do with the fact that they appeared to be very human?
Extremely.
That loved each other, but appeared to really love their fans as well?
They still do, and they realize, which many artists should, that the fans is the key thing. Yeah. Because during the 80s, when ABBA was kind of not there at the scene, the fans kept it up. They kept the fire alive, and then when it took off in the 90s with Erasure and all these bands, then it just boomed.
Back again. And ABBA never really decided to break up, from what I understand.
They took a break.
We're going to do some other things.
But if you are a true artist, or if you are a painter, or whatever, if you do something that is passionate for you and you do it with your heart, sometimes you come to road's end. You have to sort of explore something new, paint in another way, or write in another way, and the same with musicians, I think. So Benny and Björn needed to leave that 3-4 minute track thing and delve into something deeper, musical.
How do you describe walking through this museum for the first time to someone that's never been here?
Well, this is a chronological story about their lives. I want to show people what it was behind the video camera, behind backstage and everything, because everyone has seen the films, listened to the music, but they have never seen the everyday life of an ABBA.
You could spend a couple of hours here easily, reading everything if you would, but it's well laid out. It is obvious to me that you love being here, and this is an amazing place. Thank you for this so much.
Thank you for coming, really.
Mamma mia, here I go again. My, how can I resist you?
Stockholm is a city with immense experiential options. It's gorgeous, the people are friendly, and the scenery, well, it's spectacular. My trip was in the early fall where there was a comfortable chill in the air. I enjoyed looking at the detail of the architecture, dining on, you guessed it, Swedish meatballs. I even managed to get a few IKEA jokes in, but in all seriousness, visiting Sweden's capital put me in a Nordic mood and inspired me to explore more of this great country. So I headed southwest to the coastal city of Gothenburg. And boy, I'm excited to show off what I discovered. But that's for a different episode. Talk about a Swedish cliffhanger. So here's the question. Is Stockholm the ideal vacation destination for you and yours? Well, that's really up to you. But may I offer a piece of friendly advice? It's a good one. Go ahead. Just book it. You'll be glad you did. In Stockholm, I'm Erik the Travel Guy. Thank you for exploring beyond your backyard. I can't work without the red light. Sorry. And I think this is where they filmed the Goonies. I can't read it. 1628.
You guys got some pancakes back there or something? Maybe a waffle?
One is incidentally for my hair rollers, so...
I don't even know how do you know where you're going?
We don't.
Perfect.
So here we are.
Oh my gosh, look at this. Whatever you do, please don't come here. It's very hard to get a table because I am reserving all of them. So I could just go from one seat to the next. Just put some whipped cream on it, it'll be fine. Thank you for watching. Welcome back. I thought you said you were ready. I was getting into character. What's my motivation?
So, and then
put that in my suitcase, would you? Just go ahead and put that right away. Take that home with us, thank you. Got me perched up here like a Thanksgiving turkey.
So here
and I
we
can wear
have...
this as a hat later on. This is...
For more information on this episode, visit ericthetravelguy.com. And while you're there, you'll discover other fascinating destinations just beyond your backyard and links to follow me on social media. That's ericthetravelguy.com.
Beyond Your Backyard is being brought to you in part by the following. With Bill, there's only one.
Hi, I'm Erik the Travel Guy. You know, I've been exploring the world professionally for more than a decade, and you know what I've learned? Is that fantastic experiences await you in every corner of the globe, but you don't always have to travel that far to uncover them. So join me each week as we go on and off the beaten path, learn something new, and sample delicious culinary. We're exploring beyond your backyard.